We've all had sneaking suspicions that Dark Souls has some serious jank, specifically specific enemies and bosses. So I got my filthy paws on the frame data of the entire game. Shout out Meowmeritis, and I'll tell you, it's worse than we thought. A lot of attacks are not what they seem to be visually, and it explains a ton. So in this video, I will be going over the 4 most jank bosses and enemies, starting from the least jank to the most jank. So buckle up and prepare for 13 years of rage and anger to be vindicated. Number 4, the Gaping Dragon. Giant bosses in Souls games are a category of jank unto themselves. The primary issue is that if you need to do a melee attack, how are you supposed to even see what the boss is doing, let alone respond to its incoming attacks? The Gaping Dragon complicates things even further by adding on its own special type of jank. Take this attack, for example. Did you catch it? Let's slow it down. Notice the random flickering of hitboxes appearing and disappearing on the feet, even on the side that the attack isn't even happening. Look at this. So you'd think that the feet are just always hitboxes when they're moving, but
nope.
Unless the boss is attacking on the complete opposite side,
What?
then yes. There is a theme with this boss of feet just having hitboxes willy-nilly, which just adds to the frustration of dealing with an already giant boss that's hard to figure out what's going on. All right, one last example for fun. Why is that foot a hitbox right now? I thought this was supposed to be the nightmare fuel for this boss, but it's actually this. The freaking hitboxes. Number 3, Taurus Demon. Before I jump into it, if you like this video so far, remember to like and subscribe so I can have excuses to do other videos like this with other games. And remember, a like and a comment goes a long way. Anyway, back to the Taurus Demon. Oh God, where to even begin? Okay, let's start with the small stuff. So his little feeties have hitboxes as he turns and walks. Here it is in action. Tell me that doesn't look and feel weird. Believe me when I say it's jank, because it was really inconsistent to get it to happen. Like this.
Huh?
I figured, okay, so I guess the hitbox really only triggers when you're near the toes. Well,
Huh?
and I get it. The Taurus Demon is a big guy. So, you know, big guy, big steps equals damage. Cool. But look at the Iron Golem. He's literally twice his size and twice his weight, but not even a schmeckle of damage on his steps. Jake. And we're just getting started with the Taurus Demon, by the way. This next one explains years of questions I've had about his smash attacks and the area effect damage of them. These ones. You know, the ones where you swear to God you rolled right when the attack hit, but you still got hit somehow. Or you run to hit him after the attack lands and you still get clipped by the attack even though it's already over. What's going on there? So many of his smash attacks actually have a timing error. When the smash hits the ground, you'll see on the event graph that it spawns the special effects particles flying up, it rumbles the camera, and should immediately start the area of effect damage. Now look closely at this little bastard over here. That event is the area effect explosion, and it starts a quarter of a second after the axe hits the ground. Think of it like an earthquake happens, everything shakes, everyone's screaming, it stops, and then the buildings fall to the ground. So in game, that's why dodging a lot of his attacks feels really finicky. Watch it again in slow motion, knowing what you know now. It was never your fault, boys. You didn't need to get good. Blaming the game was the right choice the entire time. All right, I'm kidding, but still, pretty wild. Kind of wild too, that hitboxes just randomly disappear behind him on his swings as well. Lastly, for the Taurus Demon, just a couple of fun things I found. One of his animations makes it look like he's doing a kickflip, which is rad as hell. And if you ever felt surprised that he was able to hit you when you're so high up on the ladder, it's because he actually has variants of all of his attacks that are designed to hit well above the ground. They're there specifically to catch you when you're climbing the ladder, which I thought was kind of interesting. Who knew? Number 2, Centipede Demon. What in God's name even is this boss? The jankiness here isn't so much hitboxes appearing out of nowhere, it's having hitboxes just not be in places in one move that they are in others. Take a look at this. Clearly in this move, the boss slaps its back tail down, but it doesn't actually do anything. Whereas in this move, seen from above, the back tail, the front centipede, the small arms, and all over again, they all have hitboxes attached. It's just really inconsistent when and why an appendage should be perceived as a threat and dodge worthy as a player, and when it should just be ignored entirely. Contrast the move you just saw with this one as well. Big centipede gets a hitbox as it comes down, and the little centipede swings to nothing. And lastly, my personal favorite of this boss is Jank. We have this big stomp attack with the smaller appendages doing damage as they swing. I guess the big centipede arm is just there for show on this one. Whatever, we'll give it a pass, even though it's clearly swinging too. That's fine. But wait for the end. What the hell? Why would you give it a hitbox then? With this boss, it's hard to know what is even going on or why you even took damage. And then you factor in that all this is taking place surrounded by insta-kill lava and how bizarre the hitboxes are. And you start to get a very clear picture of how rushed the back half of this game actually was. They were almost like, honestly, people can't see the moves that the boss is doing anyway. If they die, they'll just be dead from the lava. So just have them wiggle around and throw some hitboxes on there. Nobody will notice. And now, before our most jank enemy in the game, a brief honorable mention. Smough. Half this swing doesn't even have a hitbox. Like, am I crazy? But that doesn't look right. If I told you to stand right here, you'd think I wanted to kill you, but no, that hammer ain't shit until it gets like halfway past his body. Also, his running attack just like loses its hitbox momentarily mid-attack. It must be to give you like a dodge window, I guess, but I can't imagine any player just intuiting that that giant hammer at any time in that move is safe. Number 1, Titanite Demon. There he is. In all his glory, a source of confusion and rage for almost 2 decades through many playthroughs. But now I've uncovered the secrets, and his attacks are not what you think they are. Let's start with this little beauty. First off, look how early his tail becomes a hitbox. If you've ever been behind him and just take damage out of nowhere, that's probably why. The rest of the attack makes even less sense. And what's interesting is how this weapon stops being a hitbox while his tail continues to follow through. Anyone who knows these games will tell you to always roll into the enemy's attack. But this is actually a rare exception where the tail is designed to catch you for doing that. You actually want to roll with his weapon, which feels really jank. Like, look at how much more swing is happening on his weapon, but there's no more hitbox on it. You would think rolling into his still swinging weapon would cause you to take damage, but it does not. Which brings me to a really interesting point about this enemy's jank. Visually, you would assume the staff is his main weapon because all his moves are built around it, but it's not. Like, watch this. Many of his attacks begin and end with the tail as the weapon. The actual spear is only active here for a meager 6 frames, whereas the tail is active for 3.5 times longer for 21 frames. Looking at this enemy, you would not assume the tail would be something that you needed to be concerned about. There's nothing on this character design that would indicate that. Not like on the gargoyles, where clearly the tail will damage you as it swings. Oh my god, it has spikes and an axe on it, but no hitbox. Whereas this guy, his entire moveset is built around his lethal tail. Jank. And now for the big finale. God help you if you are one shot when this move comes out. It's like at this frame, the devs asked Miyazaki, where do you want the hitboxes to be? And then he just responded with,
Yes.
This move has a whopping 24 frames of continuous hitboxes, complete with what seems to be like an explosion at the end where his entire body just becomes a sphere of death. To put the 24 frames of that attack into perspective, when you mid-roll in Dark Souls, your character is invincible to damage for only 11 frames. which isn't even half of how long the move is. So factor all that in and then watch me in slow motion attempt to dodge this attack. Compare that to similar types of attacks in modern FromSoft games. For people who started with Elden Ring like me and then worked their way back to Dark Souls, you could see how our initial reaction was that this game feels jank. Now, despite everything that we've looked at, Dark Souls is still one of my favorite games ever made. And you could argue maybe some of the things I pointed out were on purpose, albeit a little weird. At the end of the day, the jank in this game is what really makes it so memorable. It's really one of the more lovable goofballs of the Dark Souls and FromSoft catalog. Remember to have fun with the games, and also remember to subscribe and check out our other videos on the channel. A like and a comment goes a long way for a little channel like us. But as always, thanks so much for watching.